Hi everyone, welcome back to Tech Booth. Today we're going to be looking at easy steps to create dramatic black background portraits like this one. Step 1 is choosing your background. The best background to have for such dramatic shots is a dark, wrinkle-free and non-reflective background. But for this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to get the same effect without the black background. As you can see, I'm just shooting this in the living room. It's not a studio and I don't have any background setup. It's just the walls that are light blue. And so I'm going to show you how to get that same effect using your camera settings. If you are going to be using backgrounds, then black obviously is the best to use, but any other dark color will work. When you're working with darker backgrounds, it gives you much more flexibility when it comes to your camera settings. You also want to make sure that you have low ambient light wherever you're shooting. Again, this will really help when it comes to setting up your camera, but it's not absolutely necessary, as you will see through this tutorial. Step number 2 is setting up your lights. For this particular shoot, I have two lights. One is a speed light and one is a pocket flash, the AD200 and the TT600. I have them set up on either side of my subject, but where you set up your lights really depends on the look that you're going for. In my case, I wanted more light on one side of the subject and the other flash was illuminating my subject on the other side at very low power, so that one side was much darker than the other. One thing you want to make sure is that your lights are set up in such a way that there is no spill onto the background. This can be done in various ways. One is to put up what is called a flag. So on one of my flashes, I have a reflector that is fitted on the flash so that it doesn't spill light onto the background. I also have a grid on the flash, and what a grid does is it directs your light more onto your subject and you don't get too much spill on the sides. An additional way to direct your light is to set your zoom level on your flash so that your beam is narrow and focused on your subject. Again, the positioning and the setting of your lights really depends on the look that you're going for. So play around with the positioning and power of the different flash units and the number of flash units that you're using to get the effect that you want. The next step is to adjust your camera settings so that you get that black background. And what you want to do is to have your speed lights off at the beginning, and then you adjust your camera settings so that you get a black image. You're basically underexposing your shot until you get a pure black. And you can see the settings on this particular camera that gave me that black look. Once you have that black background, switch on your speed lights and then adjust the power settings to get that look that you want when you take the picture. If your lights are properly placed and you have no spill onto your background, your lights should only be affecting the subject that you are shooting. The next step is you want to position your subject. The further away you can have your subject from the background, the better it is. Once you have that in place, all you need to do now is to play with your flash power settings to get the look that you are going for, and you can also play with the positioning of your lights and maybe even the amount of lights that you're going to be using to get the look that you're going for. Make sure that you shoot in RAW because that gives you flexibility in post-processing. Once you've done shooting, it's time for post-processing. In my case, I just went into Lightroom and just slapped on a preset, a black and white preset, and just experimented with a few of the settings, and voila. And there you are, a way to get those high contrast black and white dramatic portraits. You don't even need a black background to get this kind of shot, but if you have a black background, that's even better. One of the advantages of having a black background and low ambient light is that you can open up your iris to its maximum aperture and get that really nice shallow depth of field on your subject. Well, that's it for today. I hope you learned something and you can experiment and get those creative, dramatic, high contrast portraits for yourself. See you next time on Tech Booth.